Hello, I'm David Hart, Executive Vice President at the Florida Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to another edition of the Florida Chamber's Bottom Line. Our special guest today is former Speaker of the House, Will Weatherford, who also serves as the Florida Chamber's Political Council Chair. Speaker, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. It's an honor to be back.
It's great to have you with us. I want to talk about the election cycle we're in. Next year is 2018. And it seems like it's already here. We're already ramping up for a big election cycle. What do business leaders across Florida need to know about the 2018 cycle?
Yeah, well, the first thing I think they need to know, you can't get the policy right for the state of Florida if you don't have the politics right. So what I mean by that is, if we don't have the right people in the right places in our elected positions of government and in authority in the state of Florida, we can't anticipate or expect that good policy is going to come out on the back end. And so the investment that's made, the resources, the time, the effort, the recruitment efforts, the getting behind people and supporting their candidacy is critical, because if we don't back the right people, and if the right people are not elected to office, there's no chance the right policy is going to come out. And so number one, you have to get people to understand that and to get them to buy into that. And I think what I love about the Chamber of Commerce is that the Florida Chamber has always understood that in order to get the policy right, you have to get the politics right. And they have been a leader and continue to be a leader in that regard.
Specifically to the 2018 cycle, though, you chair our efforts to raise the dollars necessary to recruit and support good candidates. Speak a little bit about what's on the ballot in 18.
It's a big year. I mean, I am honored to serve as the Political Council Chair. It's really made up of a group of people who understand that there's a lot at stake. And they understand that 2018 is going to be a very unique environment. We're going to have every member of the cabinet turning over. We're going to have every member of the Florida House of Representatives, 120 seats, are going to be up for re-election. We're going to have a significant number of the members of the Senate that are running for re-election, not including all the ballot initiatives that could possibly come. And so it's going to be a big year. And typically these off-cycle years, off-cycle meaning non-presidential years, are big years for Florida, because that's when our cabinet's up, that's when a lot of our Senate seats are up. And so the future of Florida will in large part be dictated by some of the outcomes of these races. And so we've got to be planning and strategizing now. We can't wait till October of 2018 to have our game plan. We've got to have our game plan now. And the good news is we have one. We're raising the resources that are necessary. We're getting the right candidates to file and run. And we really need the business community to step up and really help us find those great candidates. And if we bring a good candidate to them, to make sure that they get behind them and get arm in arm with us in those efforts.
So in addition to all the candidates that will be on the ballot in 2018 that can make huge decisions, right ones or wrong ones, that will shape our state, you also mentioned constitutional amendments being on the ballot. There's two that have already been approved by the Florida legislature, both dealing with property tax issues. But we also have this very unique once in 20-year entity that stands up called the Constitution Revision Commission. Speak a little bit about what its role is, what could come onto the ballot as a result of them.
Yeah, the Constitutional Revision Commission was created during the Reconstruction of our Constitution years ago. And what it calls for is for a group of citizens appointed by the governor, the president of the Senate, the Speaker of the House, the Supreme Court justices, amongst others, to participate in a dialogue and ultimately make recommendations for changes to our Constitution. It is extremely important, and we're in the midst of it right now. And so in 2018, we could foresee ballot initiatives coming to the ballot, the voters getting to vote on changes to the Constitution that are brought before them by the Constitutional Revision Commission. And so it's a very unique opportunity for the business community to have their voice heard, to put things on the ballot that are of great need. And so while we're always cautious about the Constitution, and we should be, because there's a lot of things that can be done in law that should not be on our Constitution. Pregnant pigs comes to mind as one issue that we saw several years ago that made its way onto our Constitution. But it is also a very unique opportunity for us to be forward thinking. How can we move the state of Florida forward, do good things for the business community and for our citizens through that entity? And so I'm excited to see what happens there, but it's something the Chamber has to be a part of.
Right, so we'll be very involved in following their efforts and being engaged in those conversations to hopefully have an impact and make sure good work product comes out that benefits our economy, our long-term growth. So there's one other area I want to ask you about, and it has to do with how do we educate more Floridians about both the political races and then also the issues. You're a great supporter of something we created at the Florida Chamber called Florida Wins. Could you speak about that?
Honestly, it's probably the best resource for if I'm a business owner or I'm just someone who works for a company in Florida and I want to understand what's happening in Tallahassee and how is it affecting my business or my community. FloridaWins.org is, I think, the best resource to go to understand both the politics of what's happening in Florida and also the policy implications. And so I highly encourage people, if you haven't been to FloridaWins.org, please go and visit. It's factually based. You don't have to question whether it's fake news or not. There's no fake news on Florida Wins. It's facts. It's giving people real data, real-time information about what's happening in Florida politically and from a policy perspective to inform them so they can make informed decisions when it comes next November. Because again, it all comes back to the beginning of what I said. As policy council, political council chair, my job is to get the politics right. And the chamber has an obligation to make sure we get the right people in the right seats of government for the state of Florida so that we can be a place of prosperity for our kids and our grandkids. And that's what this is all about. And so FloridaWins.org helps arm our citizens with the information they need to help us do that. So I highly encourage people to do so.
Well, Speaker, thank you for your leadership, for chairing our political council. And to our members, thank you for joining us on another edition of the Florida Chamber's Bottom Line.